Yeah? Alright. Ready? What's up everyone, it's Andres from Shots AG, and I'm here today with my roommate slash friend slash teammate, Mr. Ethan Poole, for this new video series that we came up with called The Photo Journal, where I bring on a guest and we kind of talk about my photos, and it gives me a chance to get a little bit better of a perspective of what the general audience sees in photos, what they like, what they don't like, and it helps me grow as an artist. So I'll let Ethan talk a little bit about himself if he wants to, otherwise we'll get going here.
Well, hello, my name is Ethan. Like Andres said, I'm his roommate, friend, teammate.
Coach.
I'm his coach and also his intern.
That's right, he's Shots AG's first intern. He's been doing a great job helping me kind of navigate the business side of things, and he's been doing a great job.
Trying to grow his mini business right now.
All right, so Ethan here has sent me some photos from this big album that I sent him that I've just been adding photos to from essentially my 2026 so far, a little bit of 2025, but I asked him to pick out a photo that he likes, doesn't like, or just kind of see where things go with this one. It's the first episode, so it'll give us a chance to kind of test the waters and then go from there. So today I have here a few questions to ask him about each of the photos, and we'll see what we can learn from Ethan's perspective.
I will say, I sent in 4 photos, but I'm using one of them as an example of something that I did like that I think he was going for, but missed.
Okay, that's good. That's good because it helps me kind of grow. All right, so do you want to go through in any particular order or just whichever one?
You can pick
which one we start with.
Are you gonna put it on like the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with this one first.
All right. So
I also want to look at it too. Okay.
I'll let you go first. Okay. So we have Ethan's first photo of choice pulled up, and I'll actually let him introduce the photo and tell us what he liked or didn't like about it. Here you go, Ethan.
Okay, so we have a photo of one of my teammates, Logan, in vault warm-up at Nebraska. And the first thing that really stood out to me in this photo is the like star shape that the lights make.
The starlight filter?
The starlight filter.
The starlight filter.
I think Andres told me that it's a lens that he uses. I think it makes the photos look really cool.
It definitely gives them a very cool looking effect.
Yes.
In specific lighting, and in this case, that's what Ethan liked about it.
I also liked, because it's a vault shot, like you can be stationary, and I liked the angle of the vault from like where you're landing, but also looking upwards, because it gives Logan, like, it makes him look like high up in the air, which he is, but sometimes the angles can make it seem like you're not as high up. I also liked the fact that both judges were like staring at Logan. People watch. And I think Andres captured that well. I also like the fact that you can see all of Logan's back and like his name very clearly. Sometimes you can't.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I appreciate your initial thoughts on that photo. I think you nailed a lot of things that I definitely paid attention to in the moment, such as like the angle getting low to give this perception of Logan being higher up, maybe a little bit more powerful. It gives it more of an intense feel, I feel like, when you get a little lower. It highlights your subject just a little bit more, in my opinion. Another thing that I liked that I personally didn't even notice when I took the photo, nor when I edited it, was the judges. So that was a cool thing that you caught. I normally don't think people would catch stuff like that, but I think it's cool that you caught a little detail like that just adds a little bit more to the story. And yeah, the filter's definitely, it's a sick filter.
It is.
Okay, so we had Ethan kind of talk to us a little bit about what he liked about the photo and what caught his eye. So now I wanted to take the chance to walk you guys through kind of where my head was at in this moment. So as Ethan mentioned, this was at the University of Nebraska for was it a quad meet that we had there?
Yes.
So obviously here, my main intention was to have our subject center frame. Now, a lot of people think that might be boring or maybe just not as interesting as if you put them kind of shifted to the side a little bit. You've heard about like the rule of thirds and stuff, right? Yeah. But I actually think sometimes having your subject center frame makes the image work a little bit better and just highlights your subject a little bit more. So that was my intention here. As Ethan also pointed out, I did want to get low. And yeah, I think this moment here is captured beautifully with Logan in a very, very textbook position in the air. He's squeezing everything. We can see his name in the back. It's mid-action. The height between him and the vault is very, very impressive. And yeah, that was my main intention with this photo. I just wanted to capture his athleticism, his gymnastics, and just how clean he is in the air, and I think it did very, very well. As far as the lighting goes, there wasn't much I could do with the lighting, obviously, with it being in a stadium, so it's not under my control, but I think the lighting here works very, very well. We get some nice contrast in the shadows here. Again, the starlight filter.
I like that the star, like it went onto his, like his left shoulder a little bit too, and down.
This one over here, or this one up here?
This one right here. It goes down.
This one, yeah. So that actually would create a little bit of depth too, which is always nice to see in photos when you have multiple layers and it's not just background subject, you know?
Wait, can I draw on it too?
Yeah, that's why I handed it to you. You could have like drawn on it.
I'll draw on the rest of them.
Yeah. What would I change about this photo? Actually, I don't know. What would you change?
I would maybe try and get a little bit more center from the mat, if that makes sense.
Like with this line?
The line is not directly down the center,
Okay.
but the vault is. But that might not be in your control. It might just be the way the mat was set up. But I think if the line was directly down the center of the vault mat, or like the mat that goes vertical
Like
on the
this
vault
one?
table, yes, I think it would have been more visually appealing.
Okay. Again, I didn't catch that personally. And that just goes to show kind of the things that people look for in photos.
You want to do the one that I dislike or the other one that I like?
Let's move on to the one you dislike. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the one that Ethan did not like. And then, yeah, you'll just give me your initial reactions, what you like, what you don't
Okay, the
like.
one I disliked was this one.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't really like this photo because it's blurry.
Okay.
You know, it looks like he's putting his grips on in some way, shape, or form. But like the audience is blurry, his arms are blurry. I'm not really sure what's going on with this arm, or really this arm either, because like the strap is like down. So I'm not sure like what the photo was being, like what the shot actually was. Like
what was going on?
What was
in the
going on
photo?
when Andreas took this photo. Also, like all the audience back here is blurry, back here is blurry. It's all around just like a blurry photo. The only thing that's really in focus that's not blurry is his neck and collar. Which might be artistic choice.
It was not. It definitely was not. I was not looking at Kyler's neck in that moment thinking that's the only thing I want to be in focus in this photo.
Okay, do I go next? What I do think Andreas was trying to go for, or a similar style, is this photo.
Okay.
Where the horse is in focus, the Jumbotron is in focus, but the person actually on the pommel horse is blurry. And I feel like this one shows more movement and art in movement rather than the other one where he was just kind of like touching his arm. I also really think that this part, it almost makes like a V, which is really cool because it's like, it shows like he's on one hand and then you have the legs on either side, which just shows movement. There are also people in the back, like right here, over here even, that are also there but blurry, but I think it honestly adds to the effect that like all the people are blurred, but the actual stationary objects themselves are in focus, rather than the one with the grips. Everything was blurry but his neck.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about, are we talking about both the photos or just the one, just this one?
Just do that one.
Just do that one, okay. So we're just gonna be talking about the grips photos. I do appreciate that he found the time to find an example of where he did like the slow shutter effect. I like to experiment with that effect a lot, and I kind of just do whatever looks good to me. So it's really interesting to hear when that effect works for Ethan, if that makes sense. So let's dive into this one. So as Ethan mentioned, what I was trying to go for here was to convey the movement being done in the photo where the athlete is putting his grips up. On its own, the moment isn't anything crazy compared to the other slow shutter shots that I have gotten. For example, the one that Ethan got of the athlete on the pommel horse. Here, the athlete is just preparing for the event, putting his grips on. So I do think it's definitely a staple moment in gymnastics where the athlete is prepping for the event, but maybe I could have captured it better, kind of like what Ethan was saying. So the emotional impact in this photo isn't anything crazy. I think that the motion was conveyed well, but I definitely could have executed this vision just a little bit better. As Ethan said, maybe move the camera less, just to have our background here be a little bit more in focus. Our composition, nothing crazy. Our athlete is kind of more on the left side of the frame, which, as I mentioned before, does give a little bit more of an interesting composition. Because like I definitely see what Ethan's saying. And yeah, I guess some stuff that I do like about this photo is the editing, which is obviously not done in the moment, it's done after.
What kind of edits did you do?
So I went for a very contrasty, very grainy, textured edit, just to make the image pop more, if that makes sense. Just make the shadows that much darker, bring the highlights up just a little bit to create more of that contrast, that depth. And for slow shutter shots like this, I tend to lean into that type of editing style to make it look a little bit more gritty. And I think it makes it look more dramatic and gives it more of an intense feel in the photo. So yeah, thank you, Ethan. Did you have another one?
Yeah, I have another one I like.
All right. Is this the last one?
Last one I liked, yes.
Okay.
Typically with shots of AG photos, he has told me before, and I do really like the ones that he makes in black and white. He told me he has a feeling when it like, oh, this photo would look good in black and white. And usually they're like really cool photos. Sometimes I wish I could get the colored version as well, but that's besides the point.
If you ask me, I could probably give it to you.
Yeah. But anyways, the black and white photos that he does are really cool. And usually they capture like cool moments. This one of this athlete I thought was actually really cool as well because the orange is highlighted in the black and white photo. You can see it on her Leo and on the bow in her hair. And on like the little like glitter on her face. I also like that she's like to the left side. Rule of thirds right here, boom and boom. She's in this one right here. And that like the bars are almost like not in focus, but you can still tell they're bars. You can still tell it says Greenville Gymnastics right here, but the Panthers is in focus, and really it's just her overall about to jump up onto the bars on her senior night, which is a really cool moment to capture. Yeah, like I said, all the shots at UG black and white photos typically are pretty well done. I tend to post those almost every time,
So as Ethan said, this was the third photo of mine that he liked, and he mentioned the second photo he mentioned that he liked, and as he said, this is a black and white photo. Typically my thought process and that feeling that I get for when a photo should be black and white is when I feel like the composition is stronger showed and emphasized in black and white than it would be in color. So for example, in this one, you had a lot going on in the background. So I felt like black and white was crucial for making this moment pop and really make the viewer feel, I guess, the intensity of the moment or the weight of the moment itself. As Ethan said, the athlete is about to go on bars on her senior night, so I just kind of wanted to emphasize that
yes,
tension, that
it's a very
feeling.
Emotional moment. Yeah. A very emotional moment.
I wanted to evoke that emotion in the viewers, and I feel like the black and white just does that extremely well in most cases. As far as composition goes, he nailed it. He mentioned our rule of thirds action there with our athlete placed on the left side of the grid. I can tell Ethan's been listening throughout this video.
For a reason. Cut that.
Good job, Ethan. But also one thing that he did mention, but he didn't really go deeper in, was the bars. So we have a good sense of balance here with our event on the right side of the grid and our athlete on the left side. So it creates that balance in the photo, if that makes sense. No. So obviously my goal here was to capture our athlete in the moment and show what event she was about to go on. I feel like that is crucial to the story and it just helps the viewer kind of understand that moment. The Greenville gymnastics being in the background also not really in my control. It was an intentional detail that I wanted to kind of leave in there just a little bit, along with the bars, as Ethan also mentioned. As far as the lighting goes, again, it's not very much in my control, but I feel like in black and white, it's easier to emphasize the shadows, the highlights, and create that contrast and separation in those two, rather than if it was left in color. If it was left in color, if I upped the contrast, maybe brought the exposure down, brought the blacks down, it would look a little funky. The skin tones might be off, the colors might be off, the white balance might be off. So it's just easier to kind of give it that dramatic feel by increasing the contrast when an image is in black and white. So yeah, now the edit itself, I've kind of rambled on a little bit about the reason why this image is in black and white, but obviously the reason why we kept the orange is because that's the school's colors. And I felt like it was a cool little touch to add, just to, I don't know, show that I'm being intentional in each and every image that I edit. Not all of the images that I sent out were like this, but there's a few sprinkled in there from beginning to end. And I don't know, my hope when I do stuff like that, just little details like that, is that as the people are going through my work, that they see those and they're like, okay, so he cared at the beginning, he was intentional with his edits in the beginning all the way till the end, because there's a few of these very dramatic, very intricate shots kind of sprinkled in there throughout. Anything I would do different regarding this image, I personally don't really like the coaches in the back or the people in this corner over here. I don't think they're very distracting, but I do think it would have been a cleaner image if, say, maybe I moved a little bit more behind our athlete just to cover up these coaches, and maybe moved my camera up just a little bit, maybe more hip level, just to kind of get rid of these people as well. I feel like that would have made it a perfect image in my opinion. I don't know what Ethan thinks about those changes.
I think if he would have got behind her a little bit more, you would see the P on the Panthers on her leotard as well.
Okay.
Rather than just anthers.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. Again, people look at the details, so it's good to be very intentional in the moment and be analyzing the scene as a whole, so that you're not kicking yourself after thinking, oh, I should have done this to get that perfect shot. Although it is good to look back and kind of see where you went wrong so that you can be better about it in the future. Cool. So those were all of Ethan's photos. I think this went very well. I really appreciate Ethan for taking the time here to go through that 500 photo album, pick out ones he liked, ones he didn't like. I like that he was very honest with me in what he liked about the photos, what he didn't like, what he personally thought would have made that image just that much better. I think that's extremely helpful. I took notes here that I'm definitely gonna keep in my mind as I'm continuing to shoot gymnastics, because that's another thing I actually just noticed. He only picked gymnastics photos. Was there a reason for that?
That was the majority of the photos in the album.
Okay. I am primarily a gymnastics photographer, so.
But those are the images that I see the most from Andres as well. So I think I have more exposure to that, and so I could pick out images that I really liked and really disliked. So not really disliked, but didn't like as much.
Sorry. Because you had more exposure to them, did you feel more comfortable kind of being able to identify what you liked and what you didn't like about them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he feels more comfortable kind of analyzing and talking through those rather than, say, like a street photo, would you say?
A street photo. There were a couple like more candid shots, like couples, roommates, that like I just didn't really, I don't know, there wasn't a lot going on. There was more going on in these gymnastics photos that I don't know. I've also taken photos for Shots AG.
He has.
Of gymnastics, so I kind of have an eye for it. Not as much as Andres, but like I have some experience.
Well, cool. Thank you so much, Ethan, for being a part of this.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a little bit about kind of my thought process when I'm taking these photos. And yeah, I hope you guys like this, because it'll be a series, hopefully. Cool.
Shots AG out.
Oh. All right. Thank you, Ethan.
Defend your chopped photo.
No, I'm not. The goal isn't to defend it.
I know.
The goal of this series is not to defend my photos or to.
Oh, don't include any of what I just said.
Oh, okay.
Like defending your top photo.
Okay.
No. Cut that.
Did I defend? Well, I guess the last one you liked. So I was just agreeing with you. Here, I don't know how to go about this. Cause like I definitely see what